All right, all right, all right. Wonderful to see everybody. Good morning. Thank you for being here. My name is Robin Wright with Movement Mortgage, and I serve as the board chair for In Woodstock. And we hope that you and your families had just a wonderful holiday season. We have a tremendous program for you today, but before we kick it off, I'd like to introduce the In Woodstock board members who serve on the board for In Woodstock, so you can put faces with names if you don't know who they are already. So when I call your name, if you would please stand to be recognized. We have Jim Bulger with Work Thrive LLC. Ann Jordan with Woodstock Elementary School. Bonnie Kahili, who is retired from Woodstock Elementary School. Everybody knows Bonnie. Brian Mitchell with Silver Companions, Inc. Ashley Rowe Harwell with LGE Community Credit Union. Dr. Jacob Sluter with Dentistry of Old Town. Joe Hammond Swain with One Look Real Estate. And as I mentioned, I serve as the board chair. I'm Robin with Movement Mortgage. All right. In Woodstock has a just tremendous staff of people that really do all the heavy lifting and make our city and this organization look just amazing. So we also want to recognize them. We have Brian Stockton, who is the Economic Development Director. Brian. Sylvia Breitbart, who's the Program Manager. Stacy Brown, who's the Marketing and Communication Manager. Kyle Bennett, who's the Tourism Manager. And Madison Ballou, who is the Operations Manager for Made Mercantile. You know, they are the backbone of a tremendous organization that hosts this event and many other events throughout the course of the year. In Woodstock is just a tremendous organization that gives networking opportunities for community growth and personal growth through many of the different things that we do. So if you have any interest or want to learn more about In Woodstock, just talk to any of the people that I just referenced, and we'll be glad to help you out. All right, so I always look forward to this January event because we get the honor of hearing from our mayor to deliver the State of the City address. And this year, I have the privilege of introducing our mayor, Mayor Michael Caldwell. Michael? Well, not quite yet. I got this long thing. He definitely deserves a round of applause. There's no question about that. But I do have a few more things that I have to read here. So sorry about that. There you go. Always leave them wanting more, they say, right? So, Mayor Caldwell is a successful entrepreneur, business owner, and a former four-term member of the Georgia House of Representatives and our 31st mayor of the city of Woodstock. In 2012, Michael was elected the youngest state legislator in the United States and retired after serving Woodstock for 8 years in Georgia's House of Representatives. He championed ethics reform, term limits, and economic freedom across Georgia. He is the managing partner of Black Airplane, a full-stack digital product agency in downtown Woodstock. The award-winning company employs more than 25 Georgians full-time and serves some of the largest companies in the world. Michael grew up in Woodstock, graduated from Cherokee County Public Schools, best school system in the state, and earned his BBA in finance from Kennesaw State University. Michael and his wife Katie have 3 children, Oliver, Elizabeth, and Charlotte. Not only is Michael raising his family in downtown Woodstock, and he's built his business in downtown Woodstock, and is committed to making Woodstock the best city in America to live, work, and play, and he is accomplishing that task. Not only that, but he's a diehard Michigan fan, so we've got to throw in a Go Blue. Everybody, please welcome Mayor Michael Caldwell to the stage.
Thank you, guys. All right, sit. Let's see if I earn it. All right, I am off script already, which is a really good sign. In fact, I just don't normally do scripted speeches, so this is already a little bizarre for me. But I want to say, I don't know what it says that my second State of the City has more of you than the first one. I don't know if you're here to make sure I'm going to fix everything I did in the first year, or you're excited about what we're up to, but I'm going to hope it's the latter. It is an honor to be with you guys this morning. I am so excited to welcome you guys to the Woodstock Arts Theater here in downtown Woodstock for my second State of the City address. We are joined by some special guests today. I'm going to do the most dangerous thing you can do in a room like this. I'm going to try to recognize some of them and pray I don't leave anybody out. If I do, please know that's not malicious. I'm just ignorant. So I want to first and foremost recognize Representative Brad Thomas, who represents East Cherokee. I want to say thank you for being here, sir. He's been a great ally to the city of Woodstock. Excited to get to work with you. I want to say I'm honored to have Miss Anna Roach, the Executive Director for the Atlanta Regional Commission, is here with us today. Thank you, ma'am. Your organization will get a few shout-outs during this speech. Hope you like them. We've got Mr. Rob Ackerson as the Chief of Staff for Congressman Barry Loudermilk. We were proud of the work the Congressman's doing, sir. Thank you for everything you do with him. And I know I saw him in here. We have Judge Robert Tidwell as our municipal court judge here in Woodstock. I want to say thank you, sir, for everything you do for us. And my predecessor, our 16-year and longest-serving mayor in Woodstock's history, Mr. Donnie Enriquez. Mayor, thank you for being here, sir. All right, aside from my council, did I miss any elected officials in the room? All right, you could have gotten a public apology. All right, good. All right, I have several members of our council here today. I want to thank you guys for being here. So from Post 1, we have Councilman Warren Johnson. Where are you hiding, sir? He was here earlier. Did he? Oh, okay. I was saying, you missed the best part, the speech. It's good to see you, sir. So we actually, we're sitting in Councilman Johnson's post right now, so thank you, sir, for hosting us. Across the street, and my councilman would be Mr. David Potts. I want to say thank you for being here, sir. Our new mayor pro tem, as of just a few week ago or so, Mr. Colin Ake, representing Post 3. Thank you for being here, sir. And the rest of our council got a copy of this speech this morning, and we'll get to hear me do it all over again on Monday. These lucky three will hear it twice, so lucky you. Guys, I told you last year that we had the best city manager in America. I will tell you, I'll spoil it for you. I was only on the job for like 3 weeks. I had no idea what I was talking about. So take the entire speech with that qualifier. I have now got a year under my belt, and I will tell you, this guy is the real deal. I want to introduce and thank for being here the best city manager in America, Mr. Jeff Moon. Thank you for everything you do for us, sir. Thank you. During my days in the legislature, we all used to laugh about being part-time legislators given the amount of time that we spent on the job, and I see Brad nodding heavily at me. I'll raise you a mayorship, sir. In seriousness, though, on November 15th of this past year, Katie and I sat down and we compared calendars, and between the two of us, including holidays, we had 6 free nights in December as of November 15th. I say that not to complain. I genuinely believe this is the best job in the world. I mean, bar none, it is the most rewarding job I have ever had. But as you guys know, with a young family, I've got 3 under 8. If I look tired all the time, it's because I'm tired all the time. And a growing business, there is only one reason a schedule like this can work. And I was going to ask you to help me thank her this morning, except that with 2 of our 3 kids sick, she didn't get to come this morning. So she is sitting at home with them, and that is the only reason I can be standing here with you guys today. So I believe she is watching the live stream for this, so I'm going to ask you, help me thank the best First Lady in Georgia, Miss Katie Caldwell. She is heavily involved with this Woodstock Arts Organization. She chairs the board. She has dedicated herself to helping create a more vibrant arts scene here in Woodstock, and I'm just grateful to everything she does for both me and for the city at large. So thank you, guys. What an absolute honor to get to stand here in front of you. Members of City Council, City Manager Moon, city staff, honored guests, my fellow Woodstockers. My duty this morning is to report to you on the state of our city. That is not to report on the state of our government, but on the condition of our community, on our Woodstock. Last year, you welcomed me to this stage as a newly minted mayor. the 31st mayor of this great city, taking on that new responsibility in the 125th year of our cityhood, 125 years of Woodstock. This month marks the dawn of a new quarter century in our city's story, and I mean for us to meet it head on. We will continue to heed our calling to leave this city better for our children. We will not pass on the day's challenges to future councils or future generations. This morning, we're going to discuss some ways that our city met some big challenges this year, how we have even bigger opportunities ahead, and the ways that we're going to move together to move our city forward as an undisputed leader in our nation. Now, as we dig deeper this morning, I'll be providing some updates from several of our departments. We're going to highlight and celebrate the service of some outstanding public servants. But as we do, I'm going to ask you to pay special attention to 3 major policy priorities for the upcoming year. We'll dig into each of these further. We are going to enhance the quality of life in our city by focusing on parks expansions and establishing Woodstock as a regional trail hub. Number 2, we're going to build a more sustainable, secure economy in our city by diversifying our commercial base with a concerted effort to recruit high-paying jobs and businesses into the core of our city. And number 3, we are going to concentrate our efforts as a city on building generational wealth for our citizens through the largest economic engine in human history, American home ownership. Parks and trails, new jobs, home ownership. If you don't catch those themes through the speech, you're not listening. We're going to cover a lot of topics this morning, and our city has a lot to celebrate, and you're going to hear it. But these 3 endeavors are going to be central to my administration this year, and today we'll explore why. The 21st century presented a period of unprecedented change for our city and the world. Our city continues to rise to the opportunities presented to us in this new millennium, and we have seen remarkable growth as a result. Now, with growth, and although our community hasn't answered every moment perfectly, I frequently remind folks that I go talk to that my goal is just to get more right than we get wrong. And in the year that you've trusted me as your mayor, we've seen plenty of decision points. Guys, I am under no illusion that I have gotten everyone right. But I am confident, and I'm very proud to say, that Woodstock is stronger today than it was a year ago. From crime rates to the unemployment rate, from transportation projects to relationships with governments and the private sector, our city's metrics are rapidly improving, and we are continuing toward record success. Our story is that of a city unexpected. We've built one of the most visited, attractive downtown destinations in the southeastern United States. The lives and the livelihoods of a Woodstock family are better in nearly every possible way than ever before. The state of our city is stronger than ever, and our best days still lie ahead. Now, last year we discussed a brief history of our city. I told you the story of Sir Walter Scott and his popular novel Woodstock. I told you the story of a sleepy settlement in the North Georgia woods that named their soon-to-be city after that book. We walked through the story of a forgotten railroad stop transforming into a city with 4,500 residents by 1990, that population doubling to more than 10,000 10 years later, to 26,000 in 2010, and again to 35,065 in 2020. That's growth. Now, I know it comes as a surprise, but it hasn't stopped. Most recent estimates place our population somewhere north of 37,000 Woodstockers. Our businesses continue to grow. We'll dive into a lot of the details around those numbers and how we're rising to meet the challenges that come with that growth shortly, but I want to start today by reminding you of the lesson that we shared together during this speech last year. Growth comes with challenges. Some of them are very complex. They can be difficult. But the challenges that we face are issues that nearly every other community in America would do anything to have. Do we understand that? As cities and communities around the state and the nation struggle, watching their populations flee to greener pastures, as soon-to-be empty nesters in cities not so far away watch their children dream of the days that they can leave their dying towns, as once vibrant cities breathe their final breaths, Woodstock looks ahead to better days. We stand a welcoming beacon for those who yearn for a sense of community, for those who are looking to live, work, and raise a family in a community underpinned with a sense of belonging. And in doing so, we are building a stronger, sustainable future for our city and its next generation. Now, the majority of us, myself included, we came from somewhere else. You don't get from 4,500 30 years ago to 37,000 just by having babies. Yet, there's some Woodstockers trying, but now, we came here. We're building this city. We're building it together. We're building this community. Yes, we could try to close the door behind us. We could channel our energy into solving problems like traffic and parking by ensuring that no one new ever had the opportunity to call Woodstock home. But our calling is not to shepherd our home to an orderly death. Our calling is to breathe life into this place, to build a thriving city that welcomes those who share our sense of community, our shared values, and our shared vision for the future. Dying towns don't have issues with congestion. They also don't have a future. For as long as you'll have me, I choose a strong, vibrant future for Woodstock. Now, as we strive to ensure that an ever-changing Woodstock remains our authentic Woodstock, we have to be sure it remains a safe city. The paramount duty of our government is to build and support a safe city. Woodstock must be a place that residents and visitors alike can travel our streets, our sidewalks, our trails without worry. I, like so many of you, choose to live in a place where my son and my daughters can run a few feet ahead of me without that shadow of panic entering the back of my mind. Over the last several years, not every city has managed to achieve that objective. The ARC's most recent Atlanta Region Speaks, Metro Atlanta Speaks survey tells us that for the first time ever, crime is seen as the #1 issue facing our region, with more than 3 times as many votes as the next running-up issue. The simple truth is that our neighbors throughout the region simply don't feel as safe in their cities as they did just a few years ago. But as is so often the case, our story in Woodstock is different. You know, I told you last year, despite our population growth from 26,000 in 2010 to 35,000 in 2020, we watched our population grow by 50% and our crime reduce by 45%. I want you to catch that. Our population exploded in 10 years and our crime cut in half. Now, in the time since 2020, we've continued to see that trend. From 2019 to 2022, our crime rate reduced by an additional 29%. And year over year, in just the single year from 21 to 22, we saw a 12.5% reduction in crime. No matter how you cut it, the trend in Woodstock is clear. Woodstock is not the place you come to commit a crime. Safewise.com ranks our city the 12th safest city in Georgia and the 4th safest city with a population of more than 30,000. Guys, with more than 500 cities in our state, that is no small feat. Our city is a reliable, safe destination to live, work, and play, and it is getting safer thanks to the outstanding work of Woodstock's finest. I want you to join me in thanking Guys, we owe everything to the men and women of the Woodstock Police Department for placing themselves in harm's way each and every day to keep us safe. These days, it is more trying than ever to be a police officer. Police departments face more scrutiny than ever, and our nation faces a critical shortage of both existing officers and new candidates entering the field. We have 57 sworn officer roles here in Woodstock, and as we made our way into 2022, our vacancies rose to an unprecedented 15 empty officer slots. I can assure you that unaddressed, that condition would impact the long-term state of public safety in our city. I am so proud of this council for rising to the occasion and responding decisively by investing in unparalleled ways in our police officers. Since my swearing in as your mayor 1 year ago, our council has invested and raised starting police pay here in Woodstock by a record-setting 26% in just 1 year. That's the largest single pay increase in Woodstock history. We're still a few officers shy of full force, but we were well on our way. And, well, if you've ever dreamed of a career change, I know a police chief who'd really like to talk to you. Guys, this increase met a critical market challenge, but it ensured that we invested back in those who invested their professional lives in keeping us safe. I want to thank our council for showing leadership on this important issue, and I want to thank our command staff for their leadership in helping us meet this endeavor. So thank you, guys. Now, speaking of command staff, during last year's State of the City address, you helped me celebrate the decorated tenure of our past Chief of Police, Mr. Calvin Moss. After 10 years here in Woodstock, Chief Moss chose to retire, and we began the search for his successor. And I'm proud to report that despite big shoes left behind, we found a truly impressive leader to fill them. Chief Robert Jones joins us from the Kingsland Police Department with a storied career, serving as the Chief of Police for multiple municipalities here in Georgia, a gubernatorially appointed warden, and with both the United States Army and in combat missions around the world as a United States Marine. Guys, this man has proven himself to be a leader and a servant leader throughout his career, but absolutely during his first year here with Woodstock. I want to ask that you just help me. It's a little late to welcome you, but thank you, Chief Jones, for all of your service to our city. Thank you. Now, Woodstock's finest were not the only ones busy keeping our community safe last year. Woodstock's bravest, the members of our award-winning fire department, found themselves answering a record-setting 6,846 calls for service and another 2,387 new construction inspections. That's a lot. The department continues to meet the needs of this flourishing community with the same unparalleled spirit of service that our citizens have come to know and love from them. When I tell you that our department has an insurance services office or an ISO rating of 1, it may not mean a lot to you. An ISO rating, it's known as a fire score, okay? It is a measure from 1 to 10 on how well your community is protected from fire by a department. A 1 sounds pretty good, knowing it's the top of the mark. It might sound better knowing that we're one of only 456 departments in America with that rating, but it should sound really good when you know that there are more than 27,000 departments in this country. Our Woodstock Fire Department is among the top 1.6% of fire departments in the nation. We should be proud. We should be proud of the men and women who serve us in that department, who work to keep our community safe and keep our property safe for us, and the 24/7 effort they put in to ensure that each and every one of us get to enjoy that feeling. I told you last year the department was granted a new training officer role to help prepare them for future growth. Our department averaged more than 314 hours of training per employee last year, including EMS training, active shooter training, swift water rescue training, and it was all for one reason: to make certain that the men and women who are on the scene when you and your family need them the most are prepared to meet that moment. In addition to that widely expanded training, your council engaged with a third-party firm to audit, research, and provide recommendations for master planning the future of Woodstock's fire department. We are working to secure our future and keep up the success of this fantastic agency. Now, the success of our fire department is a product of one thing, and that is fantastic leadership. Chief Dave Sumas has served the Woodstock in our fire department here in Woodstock for more than 3 decades. His constant dedication to his firefighters and the constituents that he serves is evident in everything the man does. The only bold content on the report he provided me to help prepare this speech, it said, quote, "Number of citizens reached, 27,451. His focus is always on the citizens, and his work bears that fruit in the form of a service-oriented, excellent department." Now this morning, and with mixed emotions, I am sharing for the first time publicly that Chief Sumas is retiring after a dedicated career with our city. Chief, I know you and your family are here. If you guys will do me a favor and stand up. There you are. Chief, on behalf of our city, on behalf of my family, we are proud to call you one of our own. Your legacy is going to echo through generations of firefighters in this department, and we wouldn't be what we are without you. So thank you from the bottom of our hearts. Thank you on behalf of everyone here, on behalf of a grateful city. Thank you, sir. Our city has been hard at work to make sure that the quality of life and the amenities that our residents have come to expect are getting even better. In just the last few weeks, our Parks and Recreation Department welcomed a new director, Mr. Brian Borden. Brian comes to us from the city of Brookhaven with a strong background leading cities and parks expansions, and that positions him extremely well to execute on council's vision for the department in the years to come. Mr. Borden, you're here. If you'll help me welcome Brian. We are honored to have you, sir. I'll tell you, in meeting with our council over the past few weeks to discuss priorities for the year, every member voiced a desire to expand our parks and trail offerings. Just last week, we received final approval from GDOT on our right-of-way acquisition to complete the connection of our existing Noonday Creek Trail to the Cobb County system, which will connect our city's trails all the way into the Silver Comet Trail and beyond. And we expect to have that connection from Noonday Creek Trail done in 2024. This, combined with the Community Development Department's initiative to connect the creeks, stands to considerably improve our existing trail system and the trail's viability as an actual alternative transportation option here in Woodstock. In addition, council has voiced, and I have heard you, loudly, their intention to complete Little River Park. We have allocated more than $8 million of the upcoming SPLOST to completing Phase 1 of Little River Park, and council is adamant that they wish to see groundbreaking. We have finally laid the groundwork to make the soon on those Little River Park coming soon signs on Trickham Road actually mean soon. So in a city as active as Woodstock, these offerings are genuine game changers. Transformative trail connections like these and generational park offerings like the 100-plus acre Little River Park are going to stand as investments and gifts to our children and our children's children. Now, I hope you were able to join us for the summer concert series last year. From Sister Hazel to Scotty McCreery, Woodstock, you guys showed up to play. It is not unexpected for our concerts to yield thousands in attendance. We often have to tell the fire marshal to cover his eyes and block his ears up. Guys, this year is shaping up to be the biggest ever. The 2023 season opens on May 13th with chart-topping country singer and songwriter Craig Morgan. Hits like Redneck Yacht Club and International Harvester are going to have Woodstock rocking. It's all behind me. You guys already know what I'm going to tell you. I will say, Saturday, June 10th, Councilwoman Tracy Collins, who wasn't able to be with us this morning, her long-held wish to have Mr. Rick Springfield take the stage. It's coming true. I don't know whether I'm more excited or more afraid of her, but it's coming, and we're all looking forward to enjoying that. We've got a Bruno Mars tribute band, Uptown Funk, that's going to be coming. They're bringing that 24-karat magic to the stage on July 8th. You're going to want to jump when you see another great tribute act. Completely Unchained performs a Van Halen tribute on August the 12th, and then the season ends on September 9th as Southern Icons, Driving and Crying, rock the stage with original hits like Fly Me Courageous and Straight to Hell. Woodstock Parks and Rec is adding a lot of value to this sponsorship. So if you guys have been thinking about sponsoring, now's the time. Guys, we have a lot to be proud of when it comes to recreation in this city, and I fully expect to see each and every one of you at that concert series because I don't know that anybody in Woodstock misses it. All right, earlier I described Woodstock as one of the most visited, attractive downtown destinations in the southeastern United States. In a city of 37,000, we attracted 3 million visits to our downtown shopping district last year. If you had tried to tell me growing up in Woodstock or even in 2012 when I started representing our city in the State House that we would one day boast 3 million visits in a year, I would have laughed you out of the room. But our city leadership and our stellar economic development team, they saw it. And they built a tourism, retail, and entertainment destination in downtown that competes across our region and is consistently used across the state and the nation as an example for Main Street revitalization. The success of our local economy yielded more than 350 new business licenses in 2022, and I lost count of the number of ribbon cuttings that you guys sent me to last year. In just the last 5 years, our city's businesses' top-line revenue grew from $2.2 billion in 2017 to more than $3.2 billion in 2021. I know inflation's bad, but it doesn't account for 50% growth in business revenue in 5 years, you guys. I had a CEO visiting from out of state. He owns one of the major retailers here in Woodstock. I asked him to meet me at the brewery over at Reformation at about 2 in the afternoon, and I was running about 5 minutes late. And as I walked up, he met me with what I would call a slightly abnormal greeting. He said, "Mayor, what the hell is wrong with this town?" I went, Excuse me? He goes, it's 2 p.m. on a Tuesday and the brewery's full and the park's full. Does nobody here work? Now, I reminded him we have a historically low 2.8% unemployment rate in this city, but who here hasn't visited the brewery or walked Main Street on a weekday afternoon? Guys, this is Woodstock. We don't just boast an active nightlife. This place is full of life all the time. I shared some vague hints last year during our address about one of the most important economic investments in our downtown's history, the City Center project. Now, no more vague hints. We've made some incredible progress on this project since, and this $100 million plus project will transform downtown Woodstock's skyline yet again. It's going to bring to our city more than 50,000 square feet of new office space, a 120-room boutique hotel, new conference center space, new restaurants, new retail, new park space, some critical street realignments, and the good part, a 647-space parking deck to our downtown. Now, this project represents a truly fiscally conservative approach to public-private partnership as well. The public infrastructure, the streets, the parking deck are being built with public investment, but the private portion of this project is being paid for entirely with private dollars. The city has executed a development agreement with our contractor for the infrastructure portions of this project, and before you worry about this being the coming soon signs, you'll be seeing groundbreaking on the street realignments for Chambers Street and East Main Street this quarter. We are moving. We are getting this project underway. This project is going to significantly enhance the retail offerings in downtown. It's going to dramatically expand the professional office inventory in our city, and it will provide critical congestion and parking relief that will have an echoing effect throughout our grid street network and our main road arteries. This will be nothing short of transformational for Woodstock. Speaking of office space, among our primary goals for the coming 2 years is going to be commercial diversification. We are a fantastic place to live, work, and play, but you can't have all three. You can either afford to work in the retail and tourism industry that support our city, and you're going to have a very difficult time affording to live near your job. Or you can afford to live and play in our city, and you are highly likely to be commuting far out of town to find work to support that lifestyle. Guys, this is bigger than just Woodstock. This is because of a change of behavior in America that has substantially impacted how we see our communities, how we see our society, and most importantly, how we see our roles as individual Americans. You see, 3 generations ago, and for the 5,000 years prior to it, the normal human behavior was to live near where you work. Odds were very high that you lived where you were born, and that you were going to raise children where you were born like your parents did. And then the automobile was introduced. Now, this pattern still exists in the majority of the civilized world today across Europe and Asia, but since the introduction of the automobile, chances are now extremely high that you do not live where you were born. Chances are even higher, especially in Woodstock, that you do not work near where you live. So we have to ask ourselves, what does that do to our attitudes about the places that we live and work? When the place we work starts to feel worse, what do? We find a new job in a better environment. When the cities we live in start to feel aged or less than what they once were, what do? We move. Long gone are the days that we as citizens feel any individual responsibility in the outcomes of our communities at large. Guys, this shift in attitude, the lack of roots, the lack of sense of belonging, it has tremendous impact on our national mindset as well as our local mindset. It has resulted in heightened division, it results in tribalism, and it has resulted in an increasing inability, let's admit it, an unwillingness to even be around those with differing opinions. In short, this shift away from a full life spent in community with others, it has been toxic to the great American experiment. We need to attract more small and mid-sized employers to our city that will bring high-paying jobs that are going to support the families who call this place home. As a business owner myself, my partner and I have built a company here in the heart of our city. We employ nearly 30 full-time, and the majority of them live a short distance from where we sit today. I know it can be done. There are a tremendous number of business owners who live here in Woodstock but own companies in surrounding areas because 10 or 20 years ago, that was where you wanted to be. Not anymore. It is time to bring those businesses home, to build a sustainable, anti-fragile, diversified economy here in our home city. It's time that we build a business community that's going to continue to enhance the sense of place that our city is so well known for. So I have my recruiting hat on. To every Woodstocker who owns a business outside of town, it's time to work a little closer to home. We're working hard, and we're going to bring the physical footprints and the infrastructure that you need to headquarter here. For both new and existing Woodstock businesses alike, we are intent on making sure that our city, like our state, is the #1 for business. We need to hear from you, though. So we've launched a brand new business portal. This is a business recruitment form on the website, and I mean it, we want to hear from you. Whether you own a business here or outside of the city, we want to know what you need, and we want to get you here. I'm looking forward to welcoming each and every one of you to our city. Let's get this right. Let's focus in. We're going to build an economy in Woodstock that can lead the way in restoring the sense of community that America so urgently needs. Now, City Center is by no means our city's only major infrastructure project underway. In fact, last year, during this address, I shared with you the outstanding work of our Assistant City Manager, Mr. Rob Hogan, who had put together a draft for the citywide annual comprehensive transportation plan. And in this room, I challenged our council to adopt that plan with haste, and thank you, guys. You met the calling. We are leaps and bounds ahead of our peer cities with a comprehensive plan. It is publicly available, and it outlines our city's future transportation initiatives, our project timelines, anticipated funding sources, the impact expected from each project. This helps us better interface with other jurisdictions, it helps us interface with stakeholders, and it keeps our policymakers' eyes focused on projects that actually matter. Last year, the mayors of Cherokee County elected me to represent our cities on the Atlanta Regional Commission. Alongside Chairman Johnston and Steve Stansel, our other two members from Cherokee County, we've managed to secure additional funding for several priority projects for our city and our county, including the initial rounds of funding for major intersection improvements on I-575 at both Town Lake Parkway's Exit 8 and Ridgewalk Parkway's Exit 9. These projects have been on the books for years. We are making substantial progress on securing funding, and we're actually moving the ball forward on improving traffic flow in those major congestion points for our city. Now, Mr. Hogan and I ventured down to GDOT, to the statewide headquarters early last year to meet with GDOT Commissioner Russell McMurray, and we outlined Woodstock's priorities to make sure that we were front of mind for the department. And then following on that, the three of us serving on the ARC between Cherokee County and Woodstock kept up that momentum. We hosted the lead statewide planner for Georgia Department of Transportation on a ride-along through Woodstock and Cherokee County. We wanted to provide a boots-on-the-ground perspective on our most critical transportation priorities. And I want to be clear, this kind of attention is not normal. With more than 500 cities in Georgia, statewide top-level decision makers don't get to spend time in all of them. Guys, we are focused on making sure that Woodstock and Cherokee County are and remain a primary focus for state and regional infrastructure investments, and you are going to continue to see me working with our legislative delegation, with the governor's office, and with any leader who will listen to me to make sure that we are investing in the future of Woodstock. I am extremely proud of the investment of time and capital that entities like GDOT and the ARC are making alongside our city and our county to address the critical infrastructure challenges that come with a thriving city. And guys, these kinds of investments underscore the importance and the role that our city play in our region. As an example, Nice Road acts as a major connection point between Highway 92 and Arnold Mill Road, and it has suffered from increasing congestion. I invite you to review the multi-phased plan that we have with roundabouts and increased throughput measures, but I'm proud to report that the Georgia Transportation Infrastructure Bank and GDOT's help, we are engaged in completing Phase 1 at 92 and Nice Road, and Phase 2 is already approved to move forward. You remember the hub transformation project that we discussed last year. We did break ground and we are nearing completion. I hope you enjoyed your ride through our new Gateway roundabout coming into town this morning. The two-way traffic pattern on Mill Street is coming soon, and as we discussed last year, this first-of-its-kind project is going to improve traffic flows on 7 major arteries in our city. It will dramatically reduce congestion throughout our downtown district. Y'all, I promised you orange cones last year. We delivered. All right, I've mentioned the county several times. I want to highlight what I believe is one of our most important accomplishments from last year. In 125 years of our city's history, our city only had a mutually approved growth boundary agreement with our county for 2 of those years. If it sounds like inside baseball to you, I don't blame you. It's just a mutually agreed to playbook that serves as a handshake between the county and the city on where a city can and should ultimately grow. If somebody applies to annex into the city from outside the boundary, we send them back to the county first. If somebody applies to redevelop within the growth boundary agreement to the county, they send them to us now. I know this sounds simple, but without a mutual plan, it shouldn't be shocking that the city and county were butting heads on annexations and growth. Some of those moments were contentious enough to drive headlines. some of them lawsuits. I made it a personal mission of mine to get this agreement done in my first 100 days in office, and I owe a huge thanks to our council and our county commission for taking me seriously in that mission. We were able to come to an agreement on a unanimously supported map within my first 100 days in office. We have seen the agreement in action for nearly a year now. Guys, our governments are working together more efficiently than ever. For property owners, that means a clearer path to accomplishing what you'd like to with your property. For staff, it means less likelihood of getting caught up in political tiffs. But most importantly, for taxpayers, it means less time spent on avoidable conflicts and more time executing on a stronger, brighter future for our shared community. This is a historic agreement for our community. It's one of the things I'm most proud of from our first year, but most importantly, I want to thank our council for showing leadership on that. Now, this map is a critical tool in ensuring that the growth that comes in the future is quality growth. Our community development department stretches across new building, code enforcement, development services, planning and zoning, and in 2022, the department permitted an additional $211 million in construction value here in our city. We kicked off the year with council's adoption of the Town Center and 92 Livable Centers Initiative update, and on the Atlanta Regional Commission, I consistently hear praise for our city as a shining example of setting a plan, sticking to the plan, and seeing the results. These guys, the community development department, are the engine behind that planning and execution. Earlier this year, we welcomed a brand new director of the department, Ms. Tracy Albers. I'm not sure if she's here this morning or not. Hey, Ms. Albers. Well, I got to tell you, you have one of the roles that I get to work with the very most as mayor, and it has been an absolute pleasure getting to work with you guys. We outkicked our coverage with Tracy. We're a little late to welcome her too, but if you'll thank her with me. And her deputy director just announced, after a long and storied career here with the city, that she's going to be stepping away for an awesome opportunity with Georgia Tech. But Miss Katie O'Connor, if you've built anything in Woodstock, you've gotten to meet Katie. So we all owe her a thank you. Earlier, we mentioned the challenges our city faces with the live, work, play trifecta. We explored the importance of employer recruitment and building a job space for those who live and play here. Equally important is meeting the challenge of affordability in our housing inventory, providing access to the American dream for those who work in and support our city today. With housing prices skyrocketing, interest rates and inflation exploding, and new builds slowing, our nation is undergoing a unique housing crisis, one defined by limited inventory and critically impacting a fundamental component that built the American middle class. For 3 generations, at every level of government, federal, state, and local, the United States of America has made home ownership a fundamental domestic priority. But why? Each of you business owners in the room are going to immediately recognize a fundamental truth. You don't build wealth with salary. Wealth is built in equity. But how do we make that accessible? The average American will never own a business. So how do we help them build generational wealth? The universally accessible, appreciating asset became the American home. And through it, we built the largest wealth-generating mechanism in human history, American home ownership. We built a middle class unparalleled anywhere in the world. And now, with inventory limited and prices skyrocketing, an entire generation is being excluded from that wealth. When the middle class is under threat, the political stability of America comes under threat. And this should be a primary focus of every government in the nation. It certainly is one of ours. And that is why the ownership-rentership ratio is so critical to my administration. If we want to build a financially sustainable city, we will build it with financially stable and sustainable people. For generations, financial stability in this nation is built through home ownership. And by ensuring that we provide inventory for aspiring homeowners in Woodstock, we can continue to accomplish that goal for the next generation. In a city like Woodstock, though, that early ownership model probably doesn't come with 2 acres of land and a white picket fence. The product might look more like a townhome. It might look more like a condo. But most important, it will share one characteristic. It will be owned. And it will be an economic engine for our community and, most importantly, for the families who call this community home. And that's where I need your help. In an admirable effort to tackle our state's housing crisis, the Georgia General Assembly is exploring reforms. Among those proposed reforms is an outright prohibition that would prevent Woodstock or any local governments from being able to permit rental inventory and owned inventory differently in any way. Under that new law, we'd be required to view a condo building and an apartment complex as if they were the same product. Guys, that's just not, it's not just inaccurate. It also destroys our ability to build a financially sustainable future. So we stand at the ready to provide as input as our legislators draft and craft these reforms, but our ask is that they involve us in the process and allow us to help address this shared problem for our shared future. Now, I say all this. We have a legislator in the room today, and I know he's working with us on this, so don't hound him. But I do want to say, to address this directly, our city, we have engaged in an additional housing study. We want to understand where we stand and what our status looks like, and we are addressing reforms of our own so that we can continue to work with the private sector to build housing that will meet both market demand and the financial security and future of our city. I call on our council today. We have got to continue to explore creative ways to meet that demand, and I intend for our city to continue to be a leader in the American foundation of homeownership. Core to planning, though, is great data. Now, our GIS department and our IT departments continue to lead the way in providing the information we need to make generational policy decisions here in the city. Our incredible IT director, Mr. Jeff Smith, I know he's here somewhere. There you are, sir. Mr. Smith has announced that after an excellent career with the city, he's going to be retiring as well. Guys, I don't know what this says about me. I do want to make sure we thank Jeff. You've done a spectacular job, sir. Thank you for serving us. Thank you, sir. We have always been able to rely on you. We're grateful for your service to the city. Now, with Jeff's departure, Council, you are going to be presented with an option this coming Monday to combine these two departments into a new information office to be led by a chief information officer in our city. In an era where data is now more valuable than oil, we are positioning our city to build policies and vision based on an intentional, data-driven approach. Even more importantly, information and data are critical for public accountability. Over the years, you have elected me in large part because of my dedication to open and accessible and accountable government. By centralizing information and data within the city, we can continue to focus on new, transformative transparency and public information initiatives. We've seen serious success on that front over the last year already. If you've seen our tools, some of the really neat new tools like our major projects and transportation project maps, you've seen how we're trying to share data in new, innovative ways with each and every one of you. If you ever wonder what those orange cones are for or how they're going to impact our city, you can use these maps to easily locate projects throughout the city limits. You can learn more about them. In my time in this office, from the city manager all the way down through the 200-plus employees, I have witnessed a team of dedicated public servants who are seeking ways to better involve, better inform the public on the city's activity. They're constantly searching for new ways to share information, and we are going to continue to lean into that and do everything we can to make sure you have the information you need to hold your city accountable. We have covered a lot. In the last year, we accomplished a lot. There is much more ahead of us. We are going to continue to expand our parks and our trail offerings. This new green space and the connection of our trail system to the communities around us will create a better, higher quality of life for our residents and visitors alike. These assets will yield dividends to our community for generations. We will build a deeper sense of place and connection to our community by attracting employers and jobs to allow more Woodstockers to work near home. In doing so, we will be staking out a secure, diversified commercial future for our city, and we will be reigniting the sense of community and pride of place that built an American century. We will engage and prioritize the largest economic wealth-generating mechanism in human history, American home ownership. By making this appreciating asset more available to those who call Woodstock home, we will be creating a financially stable future for both our city and the families who live here, and we'll be creating family tree-changing wealth for our citizens. Parks and trails, commercial diversification, American home ownership. We have much to do. I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for letting me serve you in this way. Every day with her. Every day. Guys, our family had the honor of serving this city in Georgia's House of Representatives for 8 years, and it was the honor of a lifetime. But I can't begin to tell you how special getting to lead this city is for me. It is far more work than the job description or any one of you told me it would be. But this is the most fun, most rewarding job in the world, and I genuinely hope I'm making you proud. This month, we start our 126th year of cityhood. Our city has seen some significant growth and changes over the years, but Woodstock's story remains the same. Our calling in this city, unexpected, remains the same. We have built a place that people want to be. We must now set out to build a place that will last. My family and I renew our promise to you from 1 year ago that we will dedicate ourselves to that mission. With your help, I'm confident that we will meet the calling of our time. We will succeed in building a city that our children will be proud to inherit. Let's get to work. Thank you, guys. Thank you all. Well, thank you. I'm honored. I think we've run long. So if you need to disappear out the back, I would not have been offended 10 minutes ago. Like I said, I own a business. I get it. You are welcome to disappear. I know per tradition, we usually answer questions. So I'm happy to answer a few questions. We have a microphone in the middle. Happy to answer any questions you guys have. Otherwise, you're welcome to wander out. Man, I either did a great job or a terrible job. I am awfully biased, so yes, sir.
Thanks, Michael. Look forward to getting to have coffee with the new Parks and Rec director pretty soon, but just wanted to see if you could share any details about what the timeline's going to look like for the new Little River Park.
Yeah, it's a great question. So I don't have a groundbreaking date for you right now because it's been the last week and a half that I've had council outright yelling over coffee and beer, get that park done. But I know that Mr. Borden and I both discussed that. I know Mr. Moon's on top of it. We have the first round of funding is now allocated in the SPLOST, so what we have to figure out is just how we're going to leverage that future funding source. We should have a timeline for you on that soon, though.
So in regards to the innovative ways that we're utilizing technology to bring awareness around different road projects,
yes, sir.
How do people driving by the project, seeing the project, know that exists and know where to find that? Is there a QR code? Is there a huge banner? Is it just as simple to take a picture? Where are they getting?
Yeah, it's a great question. The simplest way to figure out about any project you see is you're going to find out it exists because you're going to drive by and it's going to be a ton of orange cones and dirt and probably a lot of traffic is the fastest way to figure out a project's happening. When you see that, you can hop onto gis.woodstockga.gov, and we actually have the two banner click options are the major projects map, which would be anything that is currently under construction or forecasted projects coming from the community development director. So those would be private sector, typically initiated projects, or the major transportation projects map that you can click and you can actually see the current and upcoming transportation projects, and it's all displayed on a map. So if you've driven by it, you're going to know where you're going. If you're wondering what's coming, just jump onto the map, scroll around, and click the bullet points, and it'll bring up the informational piece. So it's a really neat, interactive, and innovative way to display this information in a way that actually makes it relevant to you and where you live and where you drive and where you interact. Thank you, sir.
Michael?
I hear you. There you are.
Rusty
God?
And as far as Cobb County, we're trying to do our best to send people to you to get you up to 50,000. I mean, we're trying our best to do that. So they're coming, buddy. They're coming. Two things. As far as all the development, has recession fears, I mean, whether it's a slap on the hand, slap on the face, or just a kick right in the rear end, is that changing your thought pattern as far as development? And number two, with all the development, I think, especially when in Cobb, as much as we develop, we forgot about our infrastructure where we're trying to catch that up, and it's very tough. And how is that thought pattern with the development?
Yeah, no, thank you. Both great questions. I hope you guys heard me talk about infrastructure a little bit today. So I think we are absolutely out kicking our coverage, and I want to thank Rob and the entire Public Works Department for that. We're planning ahead from that standpoint. So that's where things like a comprehensive transportation plan becomes so important. So we're looking ahead, we're planning for it, and we're planning for it before we need it. The former piece of the question from a recessionary aspect, two answers to that. First and foremost, I'll tell you, I think it's early to determine whether or not that's hitting development here in Woodstock. Development itself is a lagging indicator, right? The new permits are sort of a leading indicator, but building itself is lagging effect from what's happened before. So like I told you, we're hitting record numbers of new build approvals and new build inspections. We're certainly not seeing the effect on the build side. Permitting, I think, has slowed down moderately, but I don't think, we're not seeing like you're watching in other communities. I've had to learn as a private sector business owner, as a city, we play the infinite game. So in a business, you're playing typically towards some form of exit, even if it's just your own retirement. As a city, we're playing the infinite game. This place has to be here and exist for my kids and my kids' kids and their kids' kids. And in doing so, recessions are important to pay attention to because we have to understand how that affects revenue and decision-making in the moment, but at large, we're setting a plan and working to plan. If the plan takes a little longer because the economy itself slowed down, that's okay, but the goal is to ensure we're not deviating because of economic blips on an infinite scale. So, thank you, sir. Any other questions? Yes, sir.
Yeah, Mitch Wall here. I'm recently new to Woodstock, so
welcome.
Thank you for all that have served. Thanks for having me. I do agree that data is the future. It is more valuable than gold. What are the plans, along with creating the chief information officer, as well as creating maybe a security officer and protection of that data, so that our critical digital infrastructure is safe?
It's a fantastic question. So I'm the governor's appointee on the Georgia Technology Authority, so I'm one of 12 who sets enterprise IT policy and data security policy throughout the state. So I'm fully familiar with the issue you're raising. My simple and honest answer to you today is that's going to be a question that I think is really well posed for a chief information officer that we don't yet have because council hasn't gotten to Monday yet. But it has to be paramount and important for the city looking forward. I will say I know that GTA is starting to roll out services like that through municipalities as well. I think that's a direction we should explore, trying to leverage larger scale solutions for that than trying to piecemeal it as an individual city. As the mayor, I don't know of any major breaches we've run into thus far. That is not me daring anyone. I'm very grateful that is not an issue we've run into. But we thanked Jeff for his service earlier. We've got a fantastic IT department that has been on top of that to date. But making sure we're looking forward, I think, is going to be a fundamentally critical part of information infrastructure into the future. Thank you, sir. Yes, sir.
Just a quick question here. How are we going to deal with the current problem of just housing or just even rentals at this point? You're granting so many people, I think the numbers were at one point 4,000 in 4 years, and you've already tripled that in less than 2 years. So how are you, what's in stage right now?
Tell me about your tripling number again. Sorry, I missed that part.
Well, just talk about the population that came into Woodstock.
Yes.
Yeah, so
in 30 years, we've gone from 4,500 to 37,000 people. Part of the balancing act here, what I want to make sure everyone hears me say out loud, too, is there's nothing wrong with renting. My wife and I rented for the dramatic start of our marriage. Rentership is an important component in every community. The goal is not to make sure that renters don't live in our community. The goal is to make sure that everyone is leveraging the American economic engine, and in doing so, the best tool to do it is American homeownership. Find me a better appreciating asset. I'm happy to lean into that instead, but Bitcoin sure doesn't look like it. So I think I'm getting boos and cheers. That's so. One of us will be rich. So the challenge we're going to face is that this is not going to be a clean answer. There is no silver bullet solution to this problem. That's why I call on council to try to pay attention to the ratio. The goal is going to be to address this development to development. It's going to be ensuring that as we move forward, that we don't say no to everything and we don't say yes to everything, that we are intentional about the mix in the city as we go. That's how you build a successful, sustainable, diversified city portfolio. What I want to make sure we don't do as Americans is confuse, and it's amazing to watch the consultants out there doing it, we shouldn't confuse market behavior with market preference. Does that make sense? So just because we're watching more rentership today than we did 10 years ago, that is a direct result of skyrocketing prices, limited inventory, and lack of down payment. It's not a result of preference from the consumer. The question we should be asking ourselves then is not how do we build more of this inventory they're demanding. It's how do we build more of the inventory they actually demand, so that they don't get stuck in their second choice inventory option. Does that make sense, everybody? We're looking at the problem backwards. So we in Woodstock won't be looking at that backwards. We're going to ensure that people who come here and want to own a home have inventory to do that. Again, that home inventory may look differently than a 2-acre lot and a white picket fence. But if we meet them at a mark where they can actually build a nest egg, we're investing in their financial future, not just today. Yes, ma'am.
Somewhat piggybacking on what you're just talking
Yes,
about,
ma'am.
and as you know, I work in the mortgage industry. So when you're talking
I
about,
have the feeling you like what I'm saying.
I do, home ownership. Woohoo! My question is, over the last couple of years, we've all seen these new communities going up with starting prices 300, 400, 500,000. So when you're talking about that first-time home buyer, when you're looking at the new projects that you're starting, are you going to be targeting a lower price point for those first-time home buyers? Because what I'm seeing in my business now is that first-time home buyers and even move-up home buyers, if you're in that under $300,000 price point, you have very few choices.
Right.
Very few choices. So are you looking at condos that are going to be 150 to 200,000, maybe townhouses from 200 to 300? What does that look like for the community?
Yeah, I've become a firm believer in public office in the phrase "yes if," and so ensuring that we are meeting the needs of the community with everything we deliver. The simple answer is yes if, right? So the goal is to find products that work both for Woodstock and accomplish those underlying price targeting. I will play the faux pas of a politician on stage, and I will admit my own shortcomings. I am not the President of the United States. There's no way that I can single-handedly solve this global economic problem. What my calling to the council and calling to each of you for understanding in is that we have to have our eye on this ball, that we are not going to meet every part of this perfectly. I can't promise you we'll deliver every market solution within the 13 square miles of the city of Woodstock. But if we aren't watching this ratio, we can rapidly deliver a failing solution for you. And the problem with that failing solution is you'll never know I did it to you, because it'll be a lacking failure. It'll happen 10 to 20 years from now, and I just refuse to leave that as a legacy, whether or not it gets attributed. And so, yes, I would love to see product within that price point. There are more variables than just will we let it happen that are floating and deciding whether or not that product can be delivered. But that's part of why you hear me call on council, and I know council's open to the idea of working with the private sector to figure out creative solutions to this. I think those kinds of price points to me feel very reasonable for a condo and a townhome. I think to most of us that sounds true. The problem is the American housing market has slipped out from it. And this, I describe this as an American problem because it's been an American priority for so long. The Canadian government just banned outside foreign investment in real estate for 2 years because they're running into the same problem where foreign investment is buying up the real estate in Canada. This is a global issue we're running into. We just have to get ahead of it. And guys, look, let me play my rah-rah great American experiment game. That's what we do well. We get ahead of critical problems like this. That's what the American calling is. So I'm extending it as a Woodstock calling. I think we should lead the way. Yes, sir.
Michael.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm wondering, in light of the national problem that we have with illegal aliens, do we have a policy for our city in handling that possible occurrence?
I think I heard most of that question. My simple answer is when it comes to immigration, this city enforces state law, and we leave immigration policy to the state legislature. Yes.
I'm just curious, with the development of City Center, are you considering extending the 25-mile-an-hour speed limit down Arnold Mill heading towards Dobbs Road?
So I'll speak for, council has to make those decisions, so instead I'll speak for them and put them in an awkward corner. I fully intend to see 25 extended further down Arnold Mill. For anybody who wonders, Arnold Mill is a historically residential road and is our second main street in Woodstock. I appreciate that it is Ackworth's favorite commuter highway to Alpharetta, but that is not what we're building. So we are here to build the best city in Georgia, not the best thoroughfare in Georgia. I would like to see that done. I don't think Arnold Mill is in a position right now where that's viable or wise to do, but as we continue to see development down that path within, and I'll raise within the growth boundary agreement and within what belongs as part of the city of Woodstock. As we continue development down that path, I think you'll see that transition continue. As I look to Rob to make sure my transportation guy goes, don't say that.
A lot of initiatives for council, for city staff, for public safety. What can we all do best to help you?
Yeah, unless your legislator's Brad Thomas, call him. I said at the start, in an admirable effort, what the General Assembly is trying to do to address this problem is in spirit the same as what I'm trying to do from this stage this morning. We all recognize a real problem and we're trying to address it. By taking away local control on this issue, we are using a machete to fix something that we need a scalpel on. And that's not because it's not because I want to maintain local control, it's because I think each community addresses challenges within their community more appropriately than trying to do it across the largest state east of the Mississippi River with one fell swoop. So I'd ask you, call your legislature, encourage them to allow us to continue to consider different properties in different ways to ensure that the mix remains strong. In addition to that, you guys, we had 170 people in this room this morning. I'm preaching to the choir, right? You're not the ones I need to lean in. You wouldn't show up and listen to me drone on for half an hour if you weren't excited about this city. So my ask of you is just to continue to have that heart for the city. Get out and preach this, because we have got to get our city bought into these messages. Because honestly, I have learned that Marietta and Roswell have a lot of opinions about what we do here on Facebook. I don't care. I'm not building a city for them. We're building for you. And so I want to make sure that we hear from you. So this environment, being able to hear from you and what you're looking for in this city and knowing whether or not it matches the vision that I'm trying to cast for you is genuinely important. So if you disagree with me on these points, I want to hear from you. If you agree, I especially want to hear from you. Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am.
Hello, hello. So, good morning. I just want to say thank you to you, the City Council, and to Mr. Moon for the recent pay increase for our first responders. I do have a question regarding that. Knowing that a lot of folks are wanting to move here, and our city is going to grow, obviously, and we have been able to, with the new pay increase, bringing to standard pay. And we have been able to fill vacancies in both police and fire. Are there any ideas or thoughts to continue to look at pay compensation to make sure that we're attracting the right talent, the right people, and also that way they can afford to live in our cities as well?
Right. No, so really two questions in there, right? How are we approaching pay for the long term, and then how do we help incentivize more officers to come live within the city, more public servants in general to come live within the city? The first question is absolutely, and thank you. I know you raised the question last year as well, and it was a great driver into what we were able to affect, so thank you for constantly helping coach us through that. Yes is the simple answer. I think compensation for the entirety of the city is something that we're constantly keeping our eye on, especially in today's climate. It was a market-addressed moment. I know the city, prior to me coming in, had just gone through a pay scale study and compensation adjustment, and then you had the economy do what it did. And so we have gotten to meet it in those moments. We'll continue to meet where we need to meet in moments. The second part of that question is how do we help ensure that we have affordable inventory and opportunities for public servants to come live within the city limits? That is absolutely something, in the same way that I'm interested in just making sure that every citizen in Woodstock has an opportunity to build generational wealth that way. I certainly want to see the people serving our city doing that. What I have come to learn is part of the challenge in a city like Woodstock with 13 square miles and 37,000 people. We're one of the densest residential cities in the state. And that means I can deliver an ownership option for you, but I can't deliver every ownership option for you. So if you're looking for 15 acres and a horse farm, it's the wrong city to live in, probably. If you're looking I live in Hedgewood, right behind the condo building here, and they don't measure my lot in acres, they measure it in square feet. If you're looking for that kind of lifestyle where you can walk up into town, it's a great option. I have come to realize that for everyone who works for the city, some of our city employees really love that option. Some aren't looking for that. Some would rather come in, they want land, they want to get out to it. That's great. And so what I'd prefer to have is to the degree that we're able to execute on a balanced budget, the pay scales and the support for our employees to live here in inventory that we help to try to work with the private sector to provide if they want to. And if they don't, what I don't want to measure is whether we were successful in that based on percentage of employees who live within the city. The better metric is percentage of employees who wanted to live in the city and do. Does that make sense? It's hard to deliver horse farms in Woodstock anymore. All right.
All right, one more time for Mayor Caldwell.
Thank you, guys. Thank y'all.